Welcome to the Painful Truths. So this is our new podcast, and we're going to share our opinions. So Tim and Bart from Le Pupsy to Feet, we're going to share our opinions about different statements relating to pain. Today's painful truth is the statement, "Can't go wrong getting strong." So some people will have heard this relating to to me, let's look, what does that make me think? Like, someone's in pain, can't go wrong getting strong. So in other words, that makes me think, get to the gym, start lifting weights.
Yeah,
Get some iron.
it's actually quite interesting because it's somewhat, I think, can't go wrong getting strong. I think it's Arnold Schwarzenegger said that once.
Who's gonna doubt Arnold Schwarzenegger? Eh?
Yeah, I wouldn't.
He was saying that. I did watch Arnold Schwarzenegger's Netflix, what is it, biopic or whatever, and it's really interesting.
Yeah, I have to. I
His
haven't seen
training
it
was
yet. Yeah,
phenomenal, wasn't it?
I haven't seen it, so I have to. Don't just give me the cliffhanger.
I
Don't.
won't spoil it. But it's well worth. And like, as a character, he's got a real depth that, I certainly didn't have an appreciation for. So, and then super interesting life story. So,
Exactly.
worth it. Sorry, I'm not not paid by Netflix or anything, but I do enjoy it. So can't go wrong getting strong. No, I'm just going to throw this out there, because if you're in pain and you come in and you see a clinician, both of us are physiotherapists. We specialize in pain. We're also pain educators. So we see people in pain on a daily basis. And I'm just wondering how you might feel if you put yourself in someone's shoes, someone in pain coming to see you, that your clinician is saying you need to get stronger. You're too weak. I'm just wondering how that might make you feel.
No, exactly. I relate to that, and not because I do think there is a tendency of so many people would conceptualize it as the problem they're in. I'm just too weak and I can't get myself into the gym, so therefore I'm weak, I'm unstable or unstable, which obviously is not correct. Would it be so easy, just strengthen up and you'll be all right? Then I don't think chronic pain was such a big problem in the world. I do see athletes with chronic pain, and these people they live by can't go around getting strong, which is interesting. Where is that balance? I do think there's a truth in it as well, because I do think depending on how you conceptualize strength, but then we're probably gonna expand this conversation further on. Then it's about the metaphor strength again, and not about what do you mean about feeling strong? And feeling strong is even a different thing than being strong, right? I think that's a measure. Are you that strong, that level, that weight? Can you lift this?
Yeah.
Which we know from the research, but all by experience, that working your body or exercising is definitely has massive opportunities, and also can create huge changes.
Yeah.
And more than often it's actually a game changer. So I wouldn't disagree with the fact that we can use strengthening for the treatment. I think it should be a part of it, to some extent at least. But then when it comes again, how do you apply strength, and how do you conceptualize it?
Yeah. Yeah. And so you've already sort of dipped your toes into your opinion,
Yeah,
haven't
I
you?
couldn't help it.
I like. Can I just sort of go back to my original question? Because I'm like, if I'm thinking about someone coming to me and getting the being met with that as a statement, um, then there's a lot of sort of blame attributed to that person, isn't there? And I personally, I just don't think that that's helpful. Who does it help when you're blaming them, they're blaming themselves, that this is, oh, it's all my fault that I'm in this situation. How am I going to get myself out, kind of thing. So, so the first thing I am just thinking is we probably need to do better with statements like that. And then the second thing is that clearly it's probably more nuanced than it sounds. And I was thinking as you were saying that, like if you're having athletes coming in and they're in pain and have persistent pain, and they're going to be the strongest human beings you come across, or some of them at least. But it might be there might be more to it, that actually it's about being strong for life. It's having the capacity, the tolerance to deal with life stresses and strains and challenges that you're dealt with. And that isn't just about the physical capacity that you have. It's so much more than that, isn't it?
Mm.
So we're coming out of COVID times now, and something that I see with my clients, many of them, is that life's bloody hard. Like, it has been a massive challenge financially, from a relationship point of view, what's going on at work. There's so many areas of your life that can be a challenge. And if there's too many challenges at the same time, or the one is just so massive, then that you start to see things break down. And a breakdown isn't necessarily breakdown from an emotional point of view. It isn't necessarily like physical tissues breaking down. It's just things just become a real struggle.
Mm. Yeah, I can see that. I think that's such a, that's a global observation, I would say. It's not just UK and Netherlands. I've heard it from every continent. So, and it made it somewhat more difficult. And these statements, like you said, getting strong, you can't go wrong getting strong, also creates a feeling you can do something about it, which is a positive. But if you have tried it for so many times, it doesn't result into any effects you're seeking, makes it understandably harder to go to a clinician.
Mm.
I think it puts up a burden. I do think it creates a boundary between expectations and what a pain-informed clinician actually can do for you. If the observation or the expectations are, I need to go to the gym with the physiotherapist, which is, some of my patients would say, well, I've tried everything. Well, and of course they've done trying to get stronger. Of course, because that's probably one of the first things you would be advised, at least. And interestingly, that I think that's something you have to, that expectation needs to be sort of, well, reconceptualized as well, because I don't think it's going to work if people feel like sitting there being referred, thinking, oh, one thing please don't let me exercise because I've done that. I've been there. And therefore creating that boundary. So I do see that not just practically, but also in expectations, it makes a huge difference.
Yeah. I mean, even the word for some people is sort of immediately you start seeing the barriers coming up. So I'm wondering then, like, let's just take sort of strength and movement and exercise on its own, because there is fairly strong evidence here that actually people who are stronger, fitter, they're likely to be healthier and probably have a longer lifespan even as well. So that, like, I on one side of the argument, I would say that is absolutely accurate. Getting strong is a really good thing for your health. And if you look at the different markers of what's going on in your brain and your gut and your muscular system and your ability to be able to do things in your life, you are living a longer life, but not just living longer, but you're healthy for longer in that lifespan as well. So that I think that's totally true. But people going back through time wouldn't have been hitting the gym. They'd have just been working hard, wouldn't they? And then I'm sort of sharing a little bit of my personal journey recently. Is we started an allotment, and we've had to do a lot of digging. And what I can tell you is I have noticed how weak I am for doing that as a task. Like turning over the soil and trying to we got all this, I don't quite know what to call it. Is it couch or couch grass? But we got lots of this grass. It's just invaded the whole space. And I've done hours now. I mean, a good 10 hours of digging and forking over the last couple of the weeks. And like the first couple of the nights, I remember just sitting on my sofa and I was wondering why my hands were trembling. And I was trying to drink a cup of tea in the evening, and I could barely get the cup to my mouth. And I'm not unfit and unhealthy. I exercise regularly, but I wasn't healthy. I wasn't fit enough for that task at that time.
For that job.
Yeah. And what's been interesting, I mean, I'm such a sado, but now I see that as my exercise. So I'm going, oh, great. So now I've got some strength training to do on a regular basis. So, soon after we finish this recording, I'm going to take myself down with my fork, with my spade, and do a little bit of exercise. I see that as exercise, but it's a really pleasurable thing. I'm out in nature, and I know that I'm not just doing good for the allotment, but I'm doing good for me as well.
Yeah, I always feel like when you're from a patient perspective or the consultation perspective, it's like when you don't feel strong enough, what it does, right? So what it feels like to be not strong enough. I can relate to some degree in moments in my life, but not as much as you're in chronic pain, for example. But the feeling of not being strong enough it makes you feel really vulnerable. And what I hear back from my patients when talking about vulnerability is like people will say to you, like, it feels like every moment it just can hit me. Being there and feeling like every time of the day you will be pulled back by the pain or when it's there, but you don't know when it's going to kick in, which is interestingly, it's also a feeling of not feeling safe, I guess, but definitely not feeling strong enough. And I think that also relates to a very specific feeling. When I do feel strong enough, it's like a feeling like I can handle this. I know I can handle this. I can bear this weight for longer. I don't feel any fatigue or whatsoever. But when I do, it makes you feel pretty shit. So like you said that, Tim, you now know, you took it as a challenge now. So you find out after 10 hours of digging, you say, well, actually, I'm not that fit for this job, so I can do some exercise now. So it was an incentive for you to start doing more.
Yeah.
Why?
And I might add, I'm not in pain as such. Certainly
Exactly.
not
Maybe
that I was affected by.
isn't that the difference when you're in pain? When you have to go through a painful procedure in order to be okay and getting stronger, or it just feels like the fatigue or muscle pain or just general fatigue after exercise even can feel like, oh great, I've done a good job. But in pain, I'm not sure whether that's the feeling
Yeah, yeah,
whatsoever. It's going through a procedure that is painful. It also comes down to doing exercise in the same time being in pain,
mm,
or you feel the pain increases
yeah,
whilst you.
yeah.
That's also that thing. Is that a good thing, right?
That's it.
Is that something we need to dig in a bit more from here?
That's absolutely, yeah. And I'm just thinking now. I mean, I've got at least two people this week that I've been talking to that are engaging in movement. I mean, whether you call it exercise or not, but they're engaging in movement, and at the same time they're experiencing a flare up. So their symptoms have significantly risen.
Mm.
I mean, it's coming on about the same time that they're engaging in some new movement, so that it looks so like that there's this association between the movement and the flare up. So there is a real challenge knowing how to engage, how much to engage in, what type of movement you might engage in when you are actually in pain. I think the statement coming back, and I totally agree with you here. The statement, you can't go wrong getting strong. It's so much more nuanced than that. And if you're in pain, I think that I'm wondering what that might be. It might be like, if I'm going to have a stab at this, is wouldn't it be wonderful to feel strong and robust in yourself and in your life? Uh, but in the process of getting there, it's going to be a real challenge. And the challenges might be that you struggle to know how to engage in it. You might experience some significant flare-ups that really put you off. You might need some support from others, because actually doing it yourself and creating the consistency and the commitment that would be involved or required to experience some improvements that's really, really difficult.
Yeah, I agree. Couldn't agree more. I guess that's where the plan comes in, right? When you want to get people going through a procedure that is potentially painful, you have to bring some very valid reasons why you would do that. Otherwise, it will be counterintuitively. Why would you put yourself in danger to feel better afterwards? That's like, I'm giving you the yeah, it's a bit like telling, yeah, you will be better in 2 months after trying. All right. And after 2 months trying, I don't feel better. So why should I maintain it? Because I think that will be the obvious. That will be a common response. So I've done this for 2 months and it's just not working. My pain is definitely not better.
Mm.
On the other hand, there may be other benefits, right? So I think that's where it does the pain, where when it may do, you can't go wrong getting stronger. There's also this nociceptive concept where exercise is basically a nociceptive input. And in people who have an elevated, or let's say a lower threshold for nociception, then exercise can be tricky. But that's where the stronger bit also relates to like pushing yourself through something, which I found highly problematic. Some people, to motivate them, and even for myself to validate that procedure. How can I predict that people will make you better? How can I make sure that if I'm asking you to go through this pain, how can I basically gonna ensure you're gonna be fine? Because if I'm going through some pain, I'm okay, but I need something to look after for. So it needs some, what is it called when it's like payday? I found that quite interesting,
Some
because I think that,
results.
yeah, I need a present.
Yeah.
And and that procedure is quite interesting. I found it really challenging for asking my patients to go through, and I do think we can do better there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Find that expectation managing concept where we can actually be more ethical.
Mm.
Because I think it's really hard. It would be the same for a surgeon saying, well, I'm going to do surgery on you, and I don't know if it's going to work. Which is from that, and then we found it ridiculous. But we do exercise that are very painful with a therapist. Is it all right to go through this very uncomfortable procedure? And it's not, we're not cutting people, but we can damage people if we do so when we're not delivering.
Yeah, yeah.
In that sense.
I mean, there's lots of things that could happen there, including the association that doing movement is going to be painful, and yeah. I was thinking as you were talking. I mean, obviously, you mentioned the sort of pro-nociceptive effects of exercise for some people. So when there have been changes, just the metabolites that are released from doing exercise can create a pro-nociceptive or painful experience. So actually engaging in exercise, you might need to expect it to be painful, and if the pain is what you're trying to push away and get rid of, and that's why you seek help, it is sort of counterintuitive, isn't it, that someone's saying, sod you, you're going to do it and it's going to be painful and just get on with it. And it doesn't really make sense in some ways, does it? And then there's the other population as well. I mean, there will be people who do exercise and perhaps they can do it at the time, but actually the cost afterwards is really significant as well. And I remember having a chat this week actually with someone, and they were mentioning about doing exercises and knowing that if they're able to exercise hard enough, then they'll get that endorphin rush and feel really good from it. And I was thinking, I don't get that. I'd love to know what that might feel like. And in fact, I know that there is a significant population out there that don't get some mega rush of endorphins and feel wonderful from exercise. It's actually really challenging, hard work, tiring. But they still do it and they still engage in it, knowing that they're not getting this mega rush. So if you are that person, you aren't strange. That is just like people. Not everybody gets that feeling. Yeah. So I wonder whether it's worth coming back to our original statement that we're chewing over. So this is the painful truth, and what we're saying is the statement can't go wrong getting strong. There, on one hand, there's some real credibility for that statement. In fact, it would be wonderful if we could all, engage in activities that mean that we feel strong, robust to deal with life and to engage in life in the way that we want. But if you are already experiencing pain, then we need to significantly nuance that statement, revise it in some way. But, by revising it, my initial attempt was terrible, wasn't it? It's not a sexy catchphrase anymore. Of saying, actually, you know what, we need to work with the individual. For some people, it might be finding other ways to engage in movement, like my digging in the allotment.
Well, I think that my opinion, if you want, if you like, there, I do see on, let's say, on a regular Instagram feed, you will find when you have been bothered by Instagram and its algorithm, it will bring you to like getting strong and it will get your pain away, or do this and your pain will go away. Like, I do see these statements that are very strongly related to that. Do this exercise, it will make your sciatica go away. This is the perfect like anti-sciatica movement and exercise, and do it every day like me and I got rid of it. I think that's such bullshit.
Oh,
That's
great. Yeah, I was
horrible.
wondering what your opinion was.
Oh my god, I can't watch it because I do feel it hurts. Not because I don't think it's the exercise could be fine, but claiming it to be the result is unethical because it's not going to help anyone in pain. It's probably going to help healthy people thinking they are preventing something they feel or not even feel because they're just scared of it. Oh, let me do all these exercises. I don't see any benefit of promoting it like that because it's simplistic and it's not fair because it will guide people through a process they think they're doing the right thing and then they bother, oh shit, I've done all these exercises and I still got this. And it makes you feel, and I think it makes patients feel strange in a way of I've done all the things that they said on Instagram and on Facebook. I must be this must be very bad, right? I
Yeah,
definitely need surgery.
yeah.
Whereas I think, where do you feel as a producer of this content? And these are physiotherapists as well and well trained. I don't understand why they do this. Seriously. Um, because I don't think it's helpful and I think it's unethical
Mm.
in many ways, um, which I do think needs to be called out in some
Yeah,
way.
yeah. I mean, if this is the platform for us to give our opinion, and I see statements like that, and it makes me feel a bit sick.
Yeah.
And I just think, how can someone be so blinkered? But I do appreciate that, when they think in a black and white way, then they're only going to see the right and the wrong, one solution for one problem. And that is problematic when we start thinking about persistent and
Yeah,
chronic pain.
it's driven by marketing for sure, and I think it's hard. It's definitely difficult to bring a nuanced, because this could be the exercise that might change your life. Doesn't sound that great because they should said something like that, I guess. But from a marketing point of view, you have to say people, you are curing people. This is, and you have to spend some money on this to get access to, like say, number 2, 3, 4, 5 other exercises, which is makes it even worse. It makes it even look even more bad. I don't see that as it relates. Although I do think when we activate people, and I do think this in the supplement world happens exactly the same thing, but you stating that something is wrong with you if you're in pain and that you're not strong enough, which is, we know scientifically, but also ethically and other reasons, it's not true in that sense. It's more complex. And then you have the solution, and this is where you can click to buy it because that's what's happening. So you got probably you got a B12 shortage, or even when it's okay, the doctor is telling you bullocks, so you just have to take this supplement, then you will feel better. So it's creating a space for, I think, yeah, I think it's like totally nonsense what's happening, and the reason behind it is basically selling a one solution, one size fits all solution. And sometimes I do think they do really well financially on that because people are feeling shit and they want to feel better, and a quick solution always appeals more than a complex one.
Yeah. Great. Thanks for sharing your
Yeah.
opinion. Yeah.
I was feeling myself getting more excited, or let's say I got more irritated by this once we touched on this. But I think I do think that many people feel like that and relate to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you're a clinician and you struggle with that statement, and actually you think there might be a bit more depth, then yeah, we absolutely agree with you. And if you're a person in pain and you're struggling with that statement, I hope that you've heard of a few of the different thoughts around that resonate, and don't blame yourself, and don't think you're doing something wrong, and but it's not to say that exercise isn't and can't be really helpful.
No,
But it should be
the opposite. It
yes,
might be, but the fact is how.
but it should be thought out for you, specifically for you as well, and I
So
think that's an important thing. So this has been the painful truth, and we were figuring out what our opinions were relating to the statement "can't go wrong getting strong." It's been Tim and Bart from Le Pape Scientifique, and thanks for joining us.
thank you guys. Hope you enjoy that. See ya.